I'd like to think I was shocked when I saw this story, but alas, nothing shocks me anymore, given the way. I know you were dismissed by the trustees of Mancunian Way. It's a groundbreaking charity. You founded it 9 years ago, and the main aim is to help disadvantaged young people in Manchester, many of whom will come from black and other ethnic minority backgrounds. But you were asked to leave the organisation because of what you had written about the Black Lives Matter campaign. What was it that you wrote that was so offensive?
I don't think what I wrote was offensive. The problem was a small percentage of social justice warriors on Twitter then called me a racist and a Nazi. And in our country, the second you use the word racist, people panic, and there's no smoke without fire. And the trustees just panicked and thought, we can't have this. We need to end this. What's the easiest way of ending this problem we have today? We need to get rid of Nick Buckley and the problem will all go away and everything will be fine the next day. But it doesn't work out like that.
Well, you wrote earlier this month, the day that protesters clashed with mounted police in central London around June the 6th, you said that the slogan, Black Lives Matter, is far too simple, but is perfect for our modern age of social media and the willingness of social justice warriors to take up another cause. But you said, what is happening in the UK over the last few days has very little to do with the horrendous incident in the USA, referring, of course, to George Floyd. It is better described as part new fashion craze and part an opportunity for anarchy. And then you describe what it is that Black Lives Matter, the capital B, L and M, the actual organisation, what their aims are, and wondering whether actually a lot of people shouting the slogan did actually understand what the aims of that organisation is, which is it's a Marxist organisation, wants to defund the police, end capitalism, the patriarchy, apparently, our colonial past, and what's the other one is the nuclear family. Well, I'd rather like keeping the nuclear mum, dad, and kids. Quite like keeping that. Thank you very much, as most people would. But what is it that did people take issue on the church, the trustee, of the board? Did they take issue with what you'd actually said, or they did say, well, we didn't think what you said was wrong, but people have called you a racist, and therefore we have to let you go? What did they say?
We didn't really get into the details. It was basically you brought the charity into disrepute because just look at Twitter. One or two corporate partners support Black Lives Matter. And they're not happy. And it was really those 2 points.
But the bizarre thing is, though, that it may or may not be that things change as a result of people protesting and people going on marches, and a lot of people will agree with that the cause. And certainly, I think that every right-thinking person was horrified by the brutal murder of George Floyd and horrified by any brutality where it's not in the name of self-defence or saving others from the police. And yet, you've actually been doing work that genuinely helps people. You haven't just set up a petition on Twitter. You haven't just put a Twibbon. You haven't just sort of shouted things from the rooftops. You've actually, your day-to-day work for the last 9 years has been helping disadvantaged young people, many of whom are black, to actually improve their lives. What does your charity actually do?
So I've been on the front line now for almost 2 decades. Just in Manchester itself, we've uncovered roughly about 12 cases of child sex exploitation. We've had paedophiles arrested. We've stopped young people being groomed into criminal gangs and being groomed into the drug trade in county lines. We've worked with so many young people, supporting them, getting them into jobs, letting them see the opportunities this great country has on offer, regardless of your colour. If you can't see those opportunities because you've not been brought up in a way to see what this country has on offer, then those opportunities might as well not be there. So we show them where the opportunities are and how to grasp them. That's how you improve people's lives, disadvantaged young people's lives, is you give them those opportunities that are available. And I know all this because I come from the same streets. I come from a notorious council estate in Manchester, single parent household, went to a poor school. I've not been to university. I understand these young people. I understand those neighbourhoods, and I want them to improve, and I want them to get these opportunities that we're constantly trying to give them. But when we make them feel like the victims, and we give young people excuses not to try, because what's the point of trying? Everything's against you, pal. Don't even try anymore. Fight the system. That it just puts people in poverty for longer and generational. It's appalling.
You've been at the sharp end, actually doing something to change young, disadvantaged black and white lives. And yet you've been accused of racism, so you've lost that job as a result of speaking out. And again, I've read the full blog. It was very thoughtful and I mean, again, nothing racist in it whatsoever. You were making a perfectly reasonable criticism of the organisation. Would you, in retrospect, with hindsight, would you have written that again, or would you regret writing it and wish you could just turn back time and not have spoken out?
If you'd have asked me a week ago, I probably would have said I never would have wrote it again. If you're asking me today, I would have wrote it again. I probably would have worded it better. You know, I'm not an English major. I'm not a journalist. If I had time again, I would have wrote the same thing, but I would have worded it better.
But do you think that you would still have possibly lost your job?
Oh, yes.
And it would still be worth it? Well, I mean, lots of people say, well, you've got free speech in this country, but that free speech has consequences and you have to live with the consequences. But it does seem the free speech on one side always seems to be, the consequence seems to be losing your job. Do you think that was worth it?
It wasn't. Was it worth it? I'm tempted to say no, but it's not about was it worth it or not. It's about principle. And when you've spent 2 decades trying to improve the most challenging neighbourhoods and communities, you do the right thing because it's the right thing. You don't do the things that are convenient and are best for you or best for the charity. It's not about bringing money in for the charity. If we'd have lost some corporate supporters, so what? I don't care. It's about helping those young people in those neighbourhoods. So for me, it was all about principle, and I stick by my principle that Black Lives Matter, the organisation, are damaging the people they say they're trying to help.